Are we ready? Okay. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever, different time zones are out there across this earth. I am KP Singh. I am delighted to be here. I am here with my art group that has been around for some time. I create drawings of historic architectural nature, colleges, courthouses, historic homes, monuments, memorials, and the exhibit was organized by the Indianapolis Central Library here, and you have seen some of it, and some of the places might look familiar. And I hope that before you leave, you take another look at all of that. I am told to really say something about art and about myself. So let me, without getting into the ego of who I am, but give you a little bit insight into it. Indianapolis is my home. I have been a resident here for the past 57 years. I am a trained architect and city planner from India and University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. My children were born here at Methodist Hospital, and we were a family of four, now we are a family of three. One of our sons passed on. And so this is my home. I was born many decades ago, and but this is the one place that I feel I call home, because I have not stayed anywhere for 57 years. I saw when I came here as an architect planner for the city of Indianapolis that they were tearing down the old buildings. And so I questioned them that coming from a country and a culture where buildings are 2,000 years or 2,500 years old, and they're preserved as temples, preserved as professional heritage, how can we possibly afford to do that? To tear down our past and create parking lots. And so they said we need a parking lot right next to our building, and so they were tearing down the old architecture and creating them into parking lots and ultimately parking garages. So the work started with that it doesn't make any sense to really tear down your history, which may be only 150 years old. It was about that old when I came here 57 years ago. And you're creating parking lots. I think they should be integrated into your cities and your towns, rather than being torn down. And the first reaction was, he comes from an ancient culture, he has old ideas, we are in the contemporary, new, modern generation, we need a parking lot right next to it. The old building does not have the air conditioning, it does not have really the know-how to repair it, certain areas. And so they had all that kind of logic. I began to create drawings to show how beautiful they were, how magnificent they were. They were not St. Peter's Rome, but they were church on the circle. They were not homes of great emperors and kings, but that we had our own monuments, our own places, fabulous state house, fabulous courthouses across the state. And so that's how the work began, and it has been a joy and a pleasure to know something, to celebrate something. And the drawings are really a testimony to my commitment that by preserving our past, we are not demolishing something that is of value, but we are really preserving it to see our connection with that. Association of a great person, change of technology and building techniques, the way they lived, the way they preached, the way they worshipped, the way they sang. Architecture is all of that. It's created for a function. So what kind of function should the architecture might have been thinking about to celebrate worship, to create a church, to create a place for James Whitcomb Riley, who was a great poet and scholar. So suddenly an ordinary home, an ordinary place, an ordinary log cabin becomes significant. And so all my thinking has been not so much to stop you from doing what you want to do, but simply to draw your attention to it. That the building can be only 200 years old if you allow it to survive. The building can be only 1,000 years old if you allow it to maintain it and allow it to survive. That is our history. That's the journey that our ancestors left behind, a legacy for us to build upon, to add to it, and to enjoy it if it is still worthy and if it's still possible. So I began to think about all that what is really our mindset with regard to the preservation of this heritage. And I began to use terms like heritage, and lately I've been using a term inheritance. There is the inheritance that our parents bequeath to us. Okay, there is a house, there is a checkbook or whatever. But our ancestors, our pioneers have left behind a legacy in terms of the building that they created, building that they worshipped in. They, dispensed law and order in a courthouse. And I began to think about all of that and began to passionately introduce that work through art shows, art fairs, public displays, and persuading people that this is of great value. This is not something without value. This has a value in terms of what it brings. We rush over to Venice, and we want to see the church of Venice, the church of the various things that are going on there. We want to see the architecture there. We want to see the monuments there. Should we have our cities and towns, those kind of attractions that they should be looking at, or seeing and enjoying? And so this is how the work began, and this is how the work has been progressing. From simple drawings, I moved on to creating complicated drawings, and I call them composites. Here is one. If you have not seen it up close and personal, I want you to see it. This is I call it the Cathedrals of Spirit. What it is a composite drawing of the places of worship of many major faiths around the world. So the buildings are chosen from different countries to represent Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, Islam, Christianity, and other faiths, the High Temple, Jain Temple, and so on. They are representing different architecture, different way of construction, or building, or technology, or science, building arts that were available to them. But there was something far more common in them, in those faiths. And I tried to bring that out in my drawing when I created this drawing called Cathedrals of Spirit. Not temples of spirit, not mosques of spirit, not gurdwaras of spirit, cathedrals of spirit. I was using the word cathedral simply to say a place, holy place, a place of worship, a place where worship of God takes place, in whatever worship God that you believe in, whatever tradition that you follow. But there was something very common when I went into the faith. I recognized that there is an echo of the same thought that is radiating through each of the scriptures to tell us about the unity of the Creator and the common foundations of the Creator and the message that He was conveying. Let me read to you if you want, just a couple of them, just for the fun of it. The Sacred Bible is reminding us the heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament showeth His handiwork. Sacred Bible. I go to the Hindu scriptures and here is what it is saying. However far my eye may wander, I am standing before you, or I am seeing before you, for the heavens and the splendor of the stars are all thy image. And each faith is now giving similar message, that your stars are studying across the entire sky. This is your creation. Now, if you have been brushing some Punjabi, this is how it sounds. Jis de tare tane aakas. God whose stars spread across the heavens. Ghad ghad tiska hai prakash. That his radiance is radiating all over in every region, every realm, and every place. So the message in each of these is really very similar, in the sense that they are talking, all of them are talking about the glory of the Creator, His handiwork, His manifestation, His definition of how we can be then people of faith, people that can respect other faiths, people that can respect another person's dignity and humanity and oneness. And talking about oneness, faiths are constantly reminding us that there is one God. He is the Father and Mother of all creation. They are reminding us in the Sikh scriptures, to quote them if you wish. Sab mein jyot jyot hai soy. In other words, there is no discrimination here. It is the same divine light invested in each and every one. Instead of the word invested, we will use enshrined in each and every one of us, or deposited in each one of us. Sab mein jyot jyot hai soy. Tis te chanan sab mein chanan hoy. Not only it is the same divine light in each, it is the God's light that is reverberating and radiating from each and every human being. In other words, the art that I create has a message of learning about one another, enlightening us a little bit, informing us a little bit about each other, and seeing the beauty not just in the drawing or the image, but in what is behind that image. Building is much, much more than marble and brick, much, much more than elegant stained glass windows and great magnificent mosaics and inlaid works. It is much more than gilded domes and spires and steeples. It is much more than just the way we have delineated the various rooms for worship or for function or whatever it is used for. They are the essence of a particular event, a person, a function, and whatever takes place there, and an association. There are lots of beautiful log cabins in Indiana, but there are few that stand out. One of them would be the log cabin in which President Lincoln spent his youth, several years of his childhood, in the Lincoln City, Indiana. It's the Lincoln log cabin where President Lincoln, one of the most important human beings that really guided us and enlightened us, the whole world, not just America. And that means that log cabin has its sacred place in it, and should be. The church on the circle, monument circle, has its significance. There used to be probably a governor's mansion in the middle of it, where the monument is now. But the church has been there for almost 150 years. It has some history, it has some background, it has some people that came here and wanted something in the church right in the heart of the city. I wondered, why are the courthouses in the square center of each county, and then there are buildings around it? And then I began to think about it, and normally it will be, if it was a European town or city, it will be a church. Maybe a country church of some kind right in the middle of the town. Then I began to think about it and came to the thought, which has been probably confirmed earlier and later, they wanted to be people of the law. They wanted to be people where the law was equal for all. So that instead of putting the church in the heart of the county seat, it is the courthouse, which is really where the law begins. The law is just for each equal and just for each and every one of us. In other words, each of those things are telling us something to learn about it. Then we learn, as I do my drawings and they see the drawing, my father built this. My uncle did the proud for this, or he did the stained glass for this. Or a church that I was married in this church, or my family had association with this church. In other words, architecture is not just a little brick and mortar thing or a building. It has a living history. It has a living thought. It has a living documentation of the technology of a particular time. Took a whole lot of effort to build the largest dome of that time on St. Peter's. It has a history of the time and the technology of the time. It's a clue to all of that. Not just the creativity, not just the imagination, which of course these buildings represent, but the spirit of the people, the thoughts of the people, the mores of the people, the lifestyles of the people. And so my architecture, my art is devoted to all of that in terms of educating myself first and foremost, but also helping others to see the beauty in their towns and the cities and neighborhoods if there are. In some of the buildings are in neighborhoods, to learn about them and see their place in the larger scheme of things. Integrate it into an environment rather than demolish it to put a parking lot. Integrate it into your spirit and thought. And if it is no longer doing the function that it was originally meant for, then renovate it, but to preserve it as is, but renovate it for the new function that is more suitable for our time and our place. I was called by my friend Kwan Hui. He said, "You got to have an exhibit here." And I said, "Well, we did many drawings of small corners of building many years ago before the addition took place." He said, no. We have had Chinese exhibit, we have had others you need to exhibit." And so I said, "Okay, we will exhibit." And we ran into, he said, "I want to introduce you to Sakura Fuqua, who is really the kingpin here." She's behind us. She's the kingpin here. And so we met and we said, "Okay, we can have it." They said, "We can have the main atrium over there." I said, "No, it will be too hard on the hardwood with that kind of light and dazzle. Let's have this room." This room was allocated for the month of April, so I'm here to honor that. I'm not accustomed to, other than to Hop Jesuit, where everything was under lock and key. But that's how it is, the art exhibit. It is safe. It has been here for the past almost 25 days, and it will continue for a couple of more days till the 29th when it comes down. I wanted to just kid you a little bit, and forgive me for that because I was thinking about it, and I thought, well, let's leave it part there for you to think about it. I believe that the art has a very special place in each of your lives. You left your own home and your other jobs for the day, and you are here to hear me. I'm planning to answer your questions rather than go on about it, what I have to say about it. Because without art, we are nothing. Art is an important part of our lives, and certainly it adds something to us. as a human family, as a human being, as a city, as a town. I believe in art in the public places. I have exhibited at the Broadway Art Fair for 50 years in a row. I exhibited at the Tower Street Art Fair for 52 years in a row. And I'm getting ready to exhibit at the Penrod for the 53rd time in a row. The reason for that, a lot of people ask, so why do you exhibit there? Your work is this and your work is that. You know, and because I believe firmly that the public doesn't come to the art, let us take the art to the public. And in a place like Tower Street, there's no charge. 50,000 people walk by in the 2 days. And so art is introduced to the children, to the families. And here is the good news that my stubbornness paid off over the years. This is just between us, so you don't need to write it to the rest of the world. Over the years, my artwork has traveled from these outdoor art shows to all over the world. People came because there was a neighbor who was from another country and I had the drawing from something they valued. Or they had a guest coming in from another place and they said, take something from Indiana. So our work has traveled all over the world over the past 56 years that I've been working on art. And I'm very proud of that and I'm very pleased with that. And but I wondered, you know, all this artwork has been under lock and key, and so I wanted to kid you. Wouldn't it be wonderful for each of you to think about something, not of yourself, but I would like to donate this piece of art to my church to raise some money. Or to a neighbor who has been to Miami of Ohio and stun him with that elegant drawing of Miami of Ohio, which is on display here. I'm just kidding you, but just giving you a thought. That is how our artwork has traveled. Just by people introducing it to one another and saying, okay, have you looked at this? Would this be a gift for not just one time, but for many years, many decades to come? I close my thought with this message that I want to give it to you. This young man asked me, he's from Indiana now. He spent some time in Florida and I brought a beautiful wife with him. They are located here in Carmel. And I told him that. He said at some point I may go west. And I said, no, nobody goes west. You need a passport to go west. There's so much in Indiana that Indiana needs good people. While difficult people may travel, but you are a good person, so you cannot travel. I did not tell him that he has to sign a certificate. Yes, he may leave Indiana. Just kidding. But I was wondering about all of this, that wouldn't it be wonderful if you had another look at our artwork? Don't take anything home, look at it and say, I have a friend who went to Ohio State, or I have a friend who did this work, in this particular county, or I attended Penrod, there's a drawing of Penrod. In other words, introduce yourself, not to my work, but to art in general, and see how it really echoes with your thinking as a gift rather than Macy's. Macy's is expensive and other places are even more expensive. But think about art as a gift, because art is something that is very important part of us. And when a person comes from Washington, Seattle, to display at the Tower Street, he's already invested thousands of miles coming here, and then maybe stayed in a motel or hotel or whatever, and paid for all of that. So, in other words, think of art as an investment. Think of not art that I have to do this because KP said so. No, I'm just kidding you. I'm just saying that these artworks should not be in the prison any longer. They should be on your walls. They should be in your offices. And not just my work, but the other work that this is going to be replacing. So think of art in a larger context. I spent all my money, mountains of it, in technology and latest gadget, internet or whatever. But how about a piece of work? How about really thinking about that as something of value? Because then each day you look at this drawing, it's going to say, I don't know enough Buddhism. KP said that. And I want to know something about it. I know nothing about Jain religion. I want to really go to the Google and check about Jain religion, not my own Christian religion or Hindu religion or Sikh religion or whatever. My art is an invitation for you to know and to learn and to expand your horizons and to relate to one another as one human family. Relate to one another as neighbors and friends. Because I mentioned that to you. It is the same divine light that is reverberating through each and every one of us. Not the light we put there, but the scriptures are very clear about it. Sab mein jyot, jyot hai soe. Only God has placed that light. And that means He has also said, if He is the father and mother, and He has placed the same light, then who is worthy and who is not worthy? Who is special and who is not worthy? In other words, He has told us about a human reason to be united with one another at whatever level we can be, to think of each other, that there is a common Father, there is a common source of our light and our wisdom that has placed us on this earth. And we need to honor that in whatever we do, not just through art, but through our reading, through our visits, through our connecting with one another. So I want to share with you this thought that I've been kind of mulling about. I'm hoping, praying, imagining we will recognize, understand the higher purpose in all beings. Strive to transform universal hopes into answered prayers. Where the unfair burden, the darkness that destroys human spirit do not intrude. Where sanctity of basic rights, freedoms that lift human spirit is a solemn pledge. Where blessed peace in every land, hamlet, culture across the planet is a natural state. Where embracing of new songs for living, a culture that fosters friendliness across unfortunate divides, is a moral mandate. Where discovering common interests, collective strength, shared humanity, a major passion, a powerful unifying force. Where the seeking of a higher guidance, serving and celebrating all life, all creation, all sacred affairs are our highest purpose. Thank you for listening, and I'm now open to answer any questions. I'm very good at making up answers if as needed. And so, if you have a thought you want to share, question that you have, interest you have in anything that we can talk about, because the subject here was not just for art, but the art and the spirit of it. I read you how my spirit includes the faith element in it, not just the Sikh faith, every faith. Not just one culture, Indian culture, but all cultures. I've devoted all 57 years of my time here in promoting all of that as the founder of the International Center for Faith and Vocation. That Center for unifying the faiths, all those areas. I am one of the founding members of all of that. I did was not there. But I had determined that no matter what obstacles come in my way, right now in regard to them not accepting my faith articles, that I'm going to stay here. And the reason I've stayed here, I thank God for it, that I was supposed to talk to you on the 27th of April between 1:30 and 3:30 and to say hello to each of you. Thank you. Yes.
I have a question. Do you always work, is it pencil or ink? And that one is in color. I don't think I've seen one of your working.
The question is that are you using pencil and ink? No, that drawing has a color. No, all drawings are done originally in pen and ink. A lot of pencil is used before the ink can go on that. But then somebody said, how about a little touch of color on the Golden Dome of Notre Dame? I said, okay, we can do that. And then somebody said, well, what about IU? IU has a crimson and cream and crimson. I said, we can do that on the Roswell House. We can put it on the dome of roof of that, so a little bit of that. And so one thing has led to another, till I have become now masterful in creating new pieces out of just the same black and white drawing. No two drawings that are hand-colored are the same. They are not printed that way. Each is done individually with colored pencils. And they may go through a long cycle of several days, several hours, because you can see the drawings themselves are very intricate. And you have to keep the pencils in those lines and all of that. And no two are alike. Each will have a different color and aura to reflect the day, to reflect the spirit, to reflect what would be fun for this day, to create something for you. So that means that's how the colors have come, and they're now getting more and more complicated and more elaborate, as you can see in some of the drawings.
I'm pretty sure I have two J.P. Kings.
Pardon?
I have two of your art pieces at home, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well,
are they from the 80s? They're from
2
the
is a good number, but 3 might be better.
Well, maybe it's 3 then, but there are buildings. My husband worked on building the buildings.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how he got them. Maybe in the 80s? Whether your work goes back Indianapolis in the 80s or how far back?
I have been here since September, end of September of '67. So the buildings were being torn down at that time, as you know very well. And so I have kind of slowed down that process for them, that they are looking at that and making accommodation, with regard to not destroying the old architecture, preserving some part of it, in some cases all of it. So that's a good sign in that sense. Some of the people were not happy because they wanted to put a different building, glass and concrete, a box. But I think I might have slowed some of them down. And no, not this building, not the Union Station, because they had bids to destroy it and demolish it, to put it on. Hello there, come on in. You're in just in time. This is my brother, Doug Brown, and my big sister, Constance Brown. She's my dance teacher, and Doug is my mentor. He is a great, wonderful human being in terms of his involvement with the Cancer Society. He's one of the leaders of the International Center. He worked on the board with me for years. He watches me that I don't get across the wrong line, because he's a fabulous attorney. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So we were just chatting and talking about it. And one of the things I was saying that I think I need to have you hear it one more time. I don't believe that your office has enough KP Singh artwork. I know you gave much of it to other friends, but I don't think your office has enough. And this artwork is in, I don't want to say because I think Sakura will be mad at me. They look like they are in locked cages. I don't mean that, but I'm just saying that. They need to be freed. They need to go home. They need to be in multiple homes and places. So think about that, Doug and Francis, okay? Yeah. So we were talking about it, and I opened the thought of they want to ask something, we can talk about it. And And so we were answering the question that the young lady had, that some of the drawings are black and white and others are color. And I mentioned to her that the color is added individually with a great deal of love and care on each piece to make it unique, like an original in itself. They say, he signed it, but maybe 30 hours, 40 hours have gone into it, so it's much more than signing it. So it has a lot of value in terms of, not the monetary value because I don't talk about it, but there's a lot of value to the person who has it. And yes, I have something very special and very unique. So, any other thought? Yes?
KP, on your left side, the drawing, to me it seems very different from your other drawing. That you kind of frame your centerpiece with different small drawings of different buildings. Would you like to walk through each of them or most of them? What building they are, where are they located? I imagine they are all Indianapolis buildings, right?
I hope you can see this. This is the drawing called Indianapolis City in History. The idea was to really bring forth for you, not just a monument, not church on the circle, not just the governor's mansion over there or the state house, but to introduce to you the diversity of architecture that is in our city. So there's a center there which has 4, 5, 6 elements, including President Benjamin Harrison home, the monument, the Union Station, the State House, the Lilly Laboratory, and it has another thing, and that is the city market that was really at one time in danger of being torn down. And then it has 40 additional elements that form the ring. Those are homes, those are churches, those are colleges, those are courthouses, those are libraries, those are all historic structures from the Pew Fountain out there in the middle of our city, downtown, to churches and to the old stadiums and so on and so forth. So the idea was not just to show the building from a distance, but to, in some cases, just show just the entryway, the doorway of the Union Station, to see how intricate and beautiful and magnificent it is. And so the drawing was not done at this scale. I know you wanted to know that. The drawing is not done at this scale. The drawing is about that large, and it has 4 pieces. Each side has a different large piece, and each top and bottom, there are 4, and then the 5th is the center. So they were created that way because we have really then reduced for this size to make it available to people so that they don't have to tear down old walls and put new walls to accommodate the original, which will be much, much larger. Yes.
I'd like to make a little, maybe a gentleman, you have some.
This young man had some very kind things to say, so let them hear what you talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
Because my saying they won't believe it. You're saying.
I just had a simple question. You've been in touch with so much of the world and the most magnificent places you can go to, Venice, the Vatican. I'm sure you've been to a lot of the great ones. What's left on your list that you'd like to see or to capture and to draw?
Well, there are lots of things on my list, but I have really postponed them for my next lifetime. Because there is so much to see in this world, so much to enjoy in this world. And right now, this is a good speed for me, where we are right now, in a place of learning, and I'm saying art is about learning as well. So this is a good speed for me after all the years that I've been here. But there is so much to see in this world, so much to enjoy in this world, and I would love to really travel much more. But right now they're saying, no, you cannot travel. You can go to Kokomo, or you can go to South Bend, but no, you shouldn't be traveling long distances right now. And so I'm waiting for Doug to really say, okay, I'll escort you to Oklahoma. Why do you worry? So I'm just giving just a thought, and of course I'm waiting for my big sister here. She went to China and took all the KP Singh artwork all over the place. She could have easily said, you were good at carrying suitcases, so why don't you come with us? She never did. just leaving a thought here. So I'm hoping that next time I come around in the next lifetime, that you will be far more generous about those kind of ideas and thoughts. That doesn't mean I'm leaning on other people's shoulders, no. I'm just saying I could be a lot of fun besides carrying luggage.
KP, what are the most beautiful buildings that you've ever drawn?
What is the most important building?
The most beautiful buildings that you've drawn.
Well, I don't think we can really talk about one building as such, but one of the most beautiful pieces of art that I've created is right here, where I'm challenging the human psyche about it, that these are magnificent places of worship from all over the world, and they don't need to be on the piece of paper. They should be part of our heart and our spirit, to respect each faith, respect each culture, and enjoy them. Because that's the message I'm sending, that of unity and commonness and shared humanity. Each of those buildings are magnificent. Think about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Just thinking about it, it gives you goosebumps. That is what happened there, where the church is there. Think about St. Peter's Walk. I mean, think about any of those buildings, the Golden Temple at Amritsar. Hundreds of thousands of people that have sacrificed their lives on the compound of Golden Temple at Amritsar. Invaders to demolish the Sikh faith. So the sanctity of a place, the beauty of the place is not as, you missed that, not as just marble and brick, or stone, inlaid stones and towers and gilded domes. It is about the history and the heritage. It is about what took place there, what it took to create this place. And so there are lots of fabulous buildings. I mean, you can love Taj Mahal and other buildings. There are all kinds of buildings up there. But in this particular nation, I have had the pleasure to draw a lot of courthouses. I think they are sacred. You go there to get married if you wish, and you can get, sit before a judge in the courthouse. I mean, there are a lot of things happen in the courthouse. But then there is the ancient places out there in this land where Mesa Verde, where it is telling you a different time frame in human history and American history. So that itself is even though it is a stone and a few bricks are left and all that, it's really a sacred place that really gives you the awe. A log cabin of the President Lincoln, and you walk in there and you are allowed to walk in that place. It gives you the awe that you are walking on the same place with one of the greatest men that ever lived, one of the most brilliant men who gave up his life for something much bigger. You spoke of it. Spoke of a lot of things. And he was really a sage of incredible magnificence, incredible wisdom. He was a really ancient sage. And so that certainly the footprints that I am leaving and walking on the footprints of somebody that was so great, it just gives you the awe and the chills. That's how beautiful. And that is what is the significance of historic architecture. That it has some history and heritage, and it is humanity's greatest inheritance. Not the bank balances, not the gold jewels and Fort Knox, gold bricks, but the things that our ancestors, our pioneers have left behind for us to enjoy and to relish. Any other thoughts you wish to share or to ask?
KP, I have been in quite a number of art exhibitions in different places like the museums, libraries, colleges, universities.
Yeah.
But the majority of all those exhibitions, they talk about the skill of the artist, the style of the drawing and painting, and perhaps, sometimes they introduce the personal history of the artist. Maybe sometimes the historical background of the artist at their time. But your presentation, your art is very different from what I am mentioning, that you not only show us your artistic skill, which is very special in drawing buildings, but it really stands out that you are also sharing your thought, your philosophy, your humanity behind your art work, which is very, to me, is most important. Yeah.
Well, that I think is because I did not go to any art school. My little sister here is going to art school, Highland Art School. She's a great sculptor. She's doing glass work and magnificently. She's working hard. I didn't go to any art school, but in architecture schools in India, they taught you enough about doing a little watercolor, doing a little drawing, to be able to really make plans and drawings and all of that, and perspectives and so on. I'm simply learning and building on that. I did go to School of Architecture, have a degree in architecture and all that. So when they began to tear down buildings, I thought, what can I do to use my little knowledge about drawings? And I've been kind of working on that. And so the simplest of simple drawing that took place in early 70s and late 60s, they are now intricate drawings that really have gone a totally long distance from where I was, in terms of the texture, in terms of the detailing, in terms of not being spare about line, but to be really giving you the textures and the detailing of the flooring, the ceiling. I've done a little bit of that. And the thought there is really not my cleverness. The thought there is to really at least tease you a little bit how magnificent the ceiling is. Take a look at it. Beautifully done. In other words, that I have made people look at one more time, and I've made it Carmel, a great art critic would say, he has asked us to slow down and walk past the cathedrals and the places at a speed, and she called it a pedestrian art. In other words, to look at the detail and enjoy that. And so I have tried to do that, to slow down. Since you're not slowing down, I have, through my art, made you kind of look at it and then go and personally see it at some point and connect with it in that way. So it has been a joy and a pleasure. It has been a beautiful ride in terms of how much Indiana has shifted its focus about things and how much I have learned. And it came about, I wanted to tell, I think I told somebody about it, and that is the first day of the newspaper, Indianapolis News, carried a blurb. Did you see, did you notice a turban and a bearded man? Take a look at it. Go into the archives. October 2nd, afternoon paper, Indianapolis News. Under the column, did you notice a turban and a bearded man looking at like the Maharaja, reviewing a children's exhibit at 7:30 in the morning in the city county lobby of the city county building. And somebody pointed out to me, and they said, you will take offense, because the column was meant to really say an alien had landed, a black cat had walked by. Kwan Hui has totally lost it, and he was doing this. In other words, it was a funny column. I said, no, I'm not going to take offense at it. I'm the new kid on the block. At that time, I didn't know I was still to meet my brother Brown. We have different mothers, but we have identical twins. I told him, he tries to deny it because, he feels I make a partner in his will or whatever, which is not the case. But the thought was, I'm not leaving. I have something to do. Give back to this community. I'm the new kid on the block. But my pledge to myself was, let me learn everything I can about the history, the heritage, the leadership, and the people of this particular community. And maybe someday they will say, I didn't know. Would you try a turban on me? Which we did on Doug twice for the Indian functions. And somebody would say, okay, tell me about your faith, your family, your culture. In other words, I created that environment for myself. That it's not about me, but it's about everybody else. And when it is time, right time, they will ask me, you can tell us about it. And this may not be having the right time to talk about all of this, but they invited me to say something about faith and spirit. So I'm sharing both with all of you. And that is, I'm nothing without you. All of you are my brothers and sisters, and all of you have something taught me. Even if we have never exchanged or we never met, your presence is a special blessing. Do you need to ask a question?
Yes, when you arrived here
Speak louder so that I can hear you.
When you arrived here in 1967, that was about the same time the Marion County Courthouse was being demolished. Do you remember seeing that? And can you tell about what was Indy like when you got here?
Well, by the time I came here, 5-6 years earlier, they had demolished the city county. They demolished the courthouse to build the new city county building. I was appalled when I saw the original drawings of the courthouse. Then why couldn't we have preserved it and updated it with the new technology we needed, like air conditioning and other things? But they had already demolished it. And so they wanted to demolish the Union Station, which was the crossroad of America at that time, railroad crossroad, with great history. Then they wanted to demolish the market across from the old courthouse, which is the city market. I said, no, you cannot be destroying things that have some value, that have some origin from another culture, another country, and they were established here. And so I said that you cannot tear down the parking lots to do this or that. And so, in other words, that they began to realize that I was not just a old person, buddy-duddy, or whatever you call it. You say, okay, because he comes from another culture, he wants us to preserve everything. That he was making some sense. We go to other countries to see things, to enjoy things, to see the, St. Peter's, the Basilica, someplace, and go to Paris and see Notre Dame Cathedral, and so on. And yet we are demolishing our cathedrals. For what reason? Because they are our jewels in a landscape of bricks and mortar boxes. And you cannot destroy jewels. You need to accommodate that jewel in as elegant a way as possible as you design the new building, new tower, new overwhelming building of one kind or another. And they began to listen after a while, because I took the mayor at that time. He was a friend of yours. He was a friend of all of us, Richard Hubert, to the Union Station. I said, why would we be demolishing this? So he accompanied, he took me along with him to the Union Station to get a press conference. Why should we be spending $55,000 to demolish it when we can make its use, put it to a new use if necessary? And this is the crossroads, this is the history and heritage. And was designed by Thomas Scott, great architecture from the East Coast. And so it slowed down. Trains still kept coming for a while, but now hardly there are any come. But it became a restaurant, a place where still events take place, big banquets take place, and so on. It's not in the best of spirit in terms of the number of restaurants that have moved out of there again, but it is still surviving. And the thought would be, okay, it cannot be used, the old barn cannot be used for this purpose, it can be put it for another use. And I see this, I've seen it many times, I've seen this movie on the channel, whatever it's called, Heartland Channel, whatever its name is, and where the kid got married in the barn. The barn was cleaned up and suddenly it looked like a magnificent new place for a wedding reception and wedding itself. And so in other words, they can be put to new uses that are suitable for tomorrow, suitable for today and so on. And that has been my argument. The same is true, that our old people are not something to be put on in the nursing homes. They have so much to tell us, they have so much to share with us. Use their wisdom, use their knowledge, because they could be resources that you have not even thought about. In terms of their knowledge, wisdom, experiences, the ups and downs in life. That could be valuable to us. If we are complaining about this thing, look at what my grandparents went through. Look at my neighbor went through when he was young. And so, in other words, they have a pioneering inheritance and pioneering value for us to really build with it, not by demolishing it, but build with it in some way, and to include it in the integrity of our landscape, our cityscape, our townscape, or whatever it might be. How am I doing, Doug?
Great.
Well, this young man came and he wanted to, he saw the work and he had something to say. So please share it with the people that you saw about this work.
Yes.
What you said. He said somebody should be writing about this.
We spoke for 30 minutes. What was the portion? I don't
The
remember.
very first words you told me when you were looking at the drawing and I said no.
I'm so sorry, I don't remember.
But anyhow, I
can share.
won't repeat it because he doesn't remember it. So, but it was a joyful moment for me. Person I have never met, person I know, he doesn't know me, he doesn't know my work. And he had quickly observed that this is really something precious, this is something so beautiful, this is something so magnificent. And so I'm really grateful that you saw it.
I remember now
I
what I
want
said.
more and more people to see it, and not because it is magnificent, but see the magnificence not of the drawing or what is behind the drawing, the subject matter, the history of it, who built it, who gave it to us, what happened here, and what its value could be for the future generation, which are really much more into the internet and other things. But this heritage has a very special value. They are like the little diamonds and jewels in our communities, which are really all more and more boxes, glass and concrete, and all of that iron power. And they are these elegant things, something very special to our community. It may not be as old as St. Peter's Rome or any other Notre Dame Cathedral, which is from the 10th and 11th century. They are valuable to us, part of us, part of our history and our heritage. And so the artwork here is not how many people are interested in this or that, or buy or not buy, but it is about my commitment to educate myself first, and then see if I can have others to really look at their own town and our cities. What heritage I have in there? What did I miss? Why didn't I see? I heard about it, but never went there. Take the moment to go there. Take a moment to go to Lincoln City and see President Lincoln's park. And see if what I told you, that you feel small, that you are standing in the log cabin, in the mighty, great messenger from God. I wouldn't say it was just the president. It was a messenger from God. He told us, we can fool some of the people, and everything he said was really like a whole. His address that Harry's word. Every word is really kind of gives you a goosebump to see in 26 words or 27 words or whatever it was. He was really, people were shocked. But this is all he has to say. But those words that become the gospel. Every word of it, every line of it, every comma. That is what the architecture, good great architecture is all about. You see every comma, every gargoyle, every tower, every landscape, every cross that is there inside the building, the people just survived and fired the place. Imagine that. Why did that survive and everything else collapsed? Think about it. That all these places have a lot of history and heritage, and a lot of meaning for us, not just history and heritage, meaning for our lives. We better human beings. We more appreciative of one another. We more appreciative of all the blessing that God has given us. Yes.
I know that we have contributed to many of the large buildings and the larger aspects of spirituality. But I don't think maybe people realize and people who are starting endeavors in some of the smaller architectural buildings here. And one I can think of is the sad church that burned down a couple of blocks from here on Christmas Eve. And on Christmas Day, I was walking by talking to people who were going to be married there, who had been married there, and people were collecting bricks and just honoring that. And like the Red Door Cafe, it's owned now by the Persian man, who's turned it into this wonderful community connection in downtown. So I think that this is like what we hope will be the real trickle-down effect, and honoring all the buildings, not just the large ones. So thank you.
Well, something that we feel is very valuable may be of a different value to another person.
Right.
That's the point of a home or a church or a building or a courthouse. I mean, that's the thing. That each thing has a special value to the person about his experiences and his knowledge and his wisdom. And I'm not going to be unhappy with each of them that took a break.
Right.
They took a break, okay, they thought that was sacred. I can't build the building now, but I'm going to take a break and keep it close to me. Maybe that door stopper or whatever thing is going to be. A lot of the things that really happened here, and those of them that people were burned. I'm sure that all the towers fell down and everybody took a little square inch of wood for posterity. As a blessing, as a prasad, as a hope wafer that given the church. They took it as a sacred thing to take it because that was the original thing, 8th century old. And so they prepared a brand new tower, which was 150 to 100 feet tall.
Yeah, and I think like unifications, like when the Pope passed recently, so you may be the Pope of Art of Indiana, I don't know, but when he died, it was, the Vice President was walking out of St. Peter's Basilica with his wife, who is a practicing Hindu. And I think that shows a lot of the unification that's been going on. And it really is because of work that you initiated here and people have done in other places.
Well, I think that we are beginning to see in some circles, there is a Center for Interfaith Cooperation, right? Where they're seeing the unity in differences, in different faiths, in different culture. There are still the politicians that have not learned that.
Exactly.
And this is not my podium to really talk about the politicians. I can only pray for them. That quit all this negative energy. There is no place in human affairs that will make any, not a slight difference to the person who is in trouble. There you are agonizing about something that is really sad. But at the same time, I'm always hopeful that when I came here, the bosses were not happy, my bosses were not happy. Why do you wear this? And we're not going to promote you or whatever. There's no need to repeat any of that. But anyhow, there were 2 Sikh people at that time. Today there are 20,000 people right here in the metropolitan area. Sikhs. So in other words, if nobody knows about us, we have 3 of them employed in my office. There are 2 of them who work for me. But there are not that many KP Singhs who are ready to say, ready to go in any audience, in many audiences, diverse audiences. Get along with it. I adopted my brother, we had been separated for some time, Doug, and so he's sitting right there. But I realized that he's more than my brother. He's not just my brother, he's more than my brother, because he's generous with his heart, he's generous with his spirit. So I'm not a person that's looking for another person to take care of, but I'm not there. No. I'm looking for the heart and the spirit of other people, and how we can relate to one another, and how his goodness is being carried. He has raised millions of dollars for the Cancer Society. Probably wrote it most of the check himself, for all I know. I'm looking for that kind of thing. He doesn't care which person is going to benefit from the cancer research. He's doing a good job. He's doing a job that is assignment from God. To do this for others, and you will be even more blessed by sharing. So my influence, or area of influence, is not limited to my culture or my people or my faith or no. I feel everybody of every faith is my brother and sister. And I applaud those people who took a break. Fine. Use it. Don't use it as a door knocker. Put it there underneath the label. Came from this church on this and this day. And there was an accident in the church. But then come around when they start raising funds and say, I just took one brick, and I'm going to really donate for 5,000 bricks. Come back with a different spirit about it. And that church, that brick gave me so much more joy and so much time to reflect on it. And I want to now do something for the same church and they start rebuilding it. And that's asking too much, but I'm not afraid to ask. I'm not afraid to inform somebody. Think in bigger terms. Think in terms where you are related to something far larger than yourself. Yes. Speak loud so that I can hear you.
I'm really nervous, but I'm opening up my business by 2027. It's going to be a pressure washer business, pressure washer first owner, inside and out, being brand new forever. I feel like I'm nervous, but at least I'm very intelligent. I never knew how to do it. I read people, and I see something that I never seen in my life, and I know why. So I want them to help me help God.
We are hoping that you live not just 120, but 150. They are telling me that each limb can be transplanted. So, and of course, if the new health secretary has anything to do with it, he's saying that you've been eating a lot of wrong things, and there's no reason for you not to clean your body, mind, and spirit of all the chemicals, and you will have a healthier life. So good luck to you with your plans to not only just live long, but you said you start a business of one kind or another, and all blessings to you. Okay? Thanks. Yes.
I'm 56 years old, and when I was younger, I wasn't like a top performing student. But as I got older, I enjoyed creating myself. And creating myself in practice is perfect in the sense. I don't think perfect is always a practice. But you kind of learn different skills and you draw from places in life. Draw from
My favorite building that I do or draw are the building that has a great deal of history, heritage, and detail, because I can get by with giving a little bit detail and yet it looks intricate and special. And so I'm not opposed to contemporary architecture. Some of the contemporary architecture really is very challenging and very sad. As far as my interest in all of that, it has been growing a little bit in terms of I mentioned earlier drawing was very spare, a few lines, but the drawing was starting to have a lot more texture and detail and all of that. The thought was to continue to introduce a viewer about the beauty and the elegance of it. And so we want them to go and see it, we want them to go and enjoy it. And so the style itself has changed, use of color has changed, use of how I do things has changed. But that was then. Now I'm looking for my brother to take me just for vacation, no more hard work, nothing. I'm retired. I feel I've done all I needed to do right now. I do a lot of writing, I speak a lot, do a lot of things. But it has been just a joy and a pleasure to create this, because now many more people are interested in what I was doing. And so the work is really kind of continuing, and interest is continuing. Many books have been published about the architecture of Indiana, architecture of Indianapolis, architecture of Columbus. There is a big, huge book there. So the interest has risen enormously as people have traveled and seen the value of all of that, and we are very grateful for that. That is a positive change in people's thinking to really enjoy all this architecture right here at home, rather than all the running to Czechoslovakia. I think we are done.
Yeah, we're over a little bit over. But that's okay.
Thank you so much for each of you for being so patient and being so good and being so kind. I appreciate it. And God bless you all. And stay safe, stay well. And take another quick look at all the artwork and see if something catches your attention.
Thank you.